what's up? It's Adam once again, here coming to you live on location, Chiang Mai, Thailand. Just make sure this microphone is where I think it is. These things have a tendency to slip away. And we're going to continue this idea of finding the lower core in asymmetrical poses, really just building on part 2 as we move into part 3 here. And it's effectively how we're finding the lower core in asymmetrical poses and in twists, really maintaining it in twists. So just to start, just like we did last time, Parivrtta Ardha Chandrasana, and this time we're going to add a twist to it. And once again, I'm just going to take this variation. I'm going to stand on my right leg, bring my left knee even with my left hip, and of course, you know, many variations, your leg is extended here, and some folks may take the bind, but you'll notice on me today, what's happening is I've already lost my midline. My left hip is splaying out. My right hip is kind of caved in here, you know, and my right groin is puffed out. And of course my spine, I've totally lost Tadasana, that length of my spine. So I'm just gonna take this variation with my left knee bent 90 degrees here. And just like in this second part, right, you'll notice on this, my left hip wants to rise a bit. So I'm gonna press my left thigh bone down in my left hip socket to make my hips even. My inner right thigh wraps back, right? The hip of thigh of my standing leg wraps back, and this outer hip hugs in, right? So like I say, just like before, if I was to take the right half of my body, the standing half of my body, just kind of look at that alone, it would appear as though I'm in Tadasana here, right? But all I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my hips even and add the twist. So really what wants to happen here is your left hip wants to come with you, right? That right groin wants to puff out and that right hip caves in. So what I'll do is I'll return to center here. My inner right thigh will wrap back. My left hip really drops down. Really it's my left thigh bone pressing down in my left hip socket. As this inner right groin wraps back, my tailbone lengthens down. I keep all of this, and from here twist. And you'll notice I don't go quite as far. However, twist much more effective in the spine here, right? Keeping equanimity in your hips. And really, maybe even using your core here, using your belly button, twisting from your belly button on the exhales. And of course, doing this at home, right about now, you'd want to switch to the second side. Now, you know what? For today, I'll do it with you. So just coming to the second side. Left leg stands down, left hip firms in, left hand to the outside of my right thigh. So once again, hips doing their best to stay even, outer left hip firms in, right thigh firms down in my right hip socket, and then exhale to twist from my belly button to the right here. Of course, be aware of microphone cords as they may inhibit your movement here. Right? You'll see a lot of people in public classes, and you know, most of us do this, right? It's a tendency to let that left hip kind of drop out of the hip of your standing leg, drop out here. So really make sure to hug it in. Inner left thigh wraps back, tailbone lengthens down, and you'll see, even when I go through that motion, I get taller here. And I just twist using my core muscles, really twisting from my belly button, and then release. So part 2 here, right, is this idea of twist in the lunge here. So what I'm going to do is, once again, in this case my right leg is forward to start. I'm on the ball of my back foot. And then my right hip wants to splay out here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hug my right hip down and in, wrap my inner left thigh back, and send my tailbone towards my inner left ankle. Right? So once again, I find the sense of equanimity in my hips, heart carrying forward. In this case, my hand is on a block, and it's like this to give a little bit of leverage, right? So then with my palm down, I can keep my hips even, right? And once again, turn from my belly button. You know, right arm can work towards the ceiling as it's ready, but really working on this idea of keeping my hips even, lifting my left thigh bone into my left hip socket, right? Very similar to as if my left leg was my standing leg in the last posture. Heart carries forward, and then wrap my right rib cage on top of my left. Now, for those of you, if you have like tweaky low back, sacrum issues, things like this, it's okay to let your left hip drop a little bit, right? Sometimes it provides a little bit of ease, but remember, for those of you that are healthy, you know, in that region. If your hips can stay even, heart can carry forward. One, you can access the lower core a little bit more easily. You might even find that you can pull your right thigh bone into your right hip socket, left thigh bone lifts into your left hip socket, and then from there you actually get longer out of your spine and twist from there. Versus, you know, just kind of letting everything twist. Might feel real good in that right hip, but doesn't really give the benefit to the spine that accessing your lower core and really holding firm in your lower core would do as you twist. And we'll just take second side just for equanimity's sake. So once again, my right leg is back, working towards a 90-degree bend in this left knee, and my right palm is down under my right shoulder. And just as an added bonus, if you can find where that right thigh bone lifts to your right hip socket, left hip squeezes in, and then wrap that upper outer right arm back. Right, so everything's holding in the core, heart pulling forward, and then from there, left rib cage wraps towards the ceiling. And you'll notice my right shoulder wants to cave in, so I'm going to slide my right shoulder blade down my back. Nothing changes in my hips. I keep leveraging my heart forward and wrapping my belly button to the left side. All right, and when you're ready, just come on out of this. All right, and one last pose here, Revolved Half Moon. So what this effectively is just like Warrior 3, except with a twist added. So once again, what you can do is you can start from this lunge. My right leg is forward to start here on this one. My right hip hugs in, so I keep the squareness in my hips. And in this case, my hand is to a block. What I'm going to do is I'm going to carry my heart forward here. Right, so you'll see where I'm going for Warrior 3. My hips stay even. My outer right hip hugs in. My left thigh bone lifts into my left hip socket. So the outer core, or the lower core here, is accessed. Hand comes down under my shoulder. And you'll notice, right, that right hip kind of wants to stretch out, shift out for the sake of the twist. But part of this practice is really accessing awareness in the body, finding that sense of not restraint, right, not imprisoning yourself, right, but finding that sense of discipline to wrap your inner left thigh to the sky, send your tailbone back, and then begin to wrap that right rib cage towards the ceiling. And if you're unsure of what your right hip is doing in this experience, you can actually just take your right hand to your right hip and hold it there, hold it firm, as you begin to pull your heart forward, as you begin to wrap that left rib cage, or sorry, wrap your belly button to the right, wrap your right rib cage towards the ceiling. And then when you're ready, come out and just come to the second side. All right, so we find, right, here's a twist and a lunge. I'm just going to approach it a slightly different way here. Right, I'm going to try to maintain this twist. My left hand is on my left hip just for stability, just to keep it in line, keep it aware. My inner right thigh wraps towards the ceiling. My left rib cage is wrapping towards the sky, so is my belly button. So I try to keep all this, keeping the twist, and just shifting forward. Right, Revolved Half Moon. And just be aware of that right hip too. It wants to drop, so right quad stays engaged. Right thigh bone lifts into your right hip socket. And I'll tell you, in trainings, and if you have wall space at home, if you take this lifted heel all the way back to the wall, use it to keep your hips even, find that leverage. That experience simultaneously gets more intense, but a lot easier in the sense of building awareness. Once again, this is Adam on location, Chiang Mai, Thailand. Keystone-yoga.com coming soon. Have a great day.